What else is out?
Cabaret is 50 years old, which I find alarming. To celebrate its 50th anniversary, it's back in selected cinemas. This is Bob Fosse's 1972 adaptation of, well, originally the 1960s Kander and Ebb stage musical with a book by Joe Masteroff, which was based on the play I Am a Camera, which was itself inspired by the writings of Christopher Isherwood, Goodbye to Berlin from the Berlin Stories, and actually other elements from that as well. Set in decadent Berlin in the years between the wars, against the backdrop of the rise of Nazism. Now, I am assuming that most people will have seen Cabaret. But in case you haven't, Liza Minnelli won an Oscar for her portrayal of Sally Bowles, who is the nightclub entertainer at the Kit Kat nightclub, for whom Michael York's Innocent Abroad falls. And what happens is that the story of their relationship, which then becomes a sort of a three-way relationship with Max, plays out against the changing backdrop of the country. Here is a clip from Cabaret.
I am a most strange and extraordinary person. Now, tell me all about you. I want to hear everything.
Everything?
Absolutely everything.
Well, there's nothing very dramatic to tell. Well, since I came down from Cambridge,
Leah DePutty. Absolutely my favorite screen siren.
Well, when I left Cambridge...
I'm going to be a great film star. That is, if booze and sex don't get me first. Do I shock you, darling?
Not a bit.
I don't?
And down with the Nazis.
And, of course, during that clip, if you could see it, there's a swastika kind of goes past, and during the course of the narrative, you see the rise of Nazism happening, and it kind of happens from being at the beginning of the movie in the background and sort of as something which is peripheral to something which then rises during the course of the narrative. Liza Minnelli won an Oscar, and deservedly so, for her performance, which is extraordinary. The film also won Oscars for Best Supporting Actor for Joel Grey, who is the MC, who is, that is one of the kind of the great defining roles of musical theatre, and his performance in it is extraordinary. It also won Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, Best Sound, Best Original Song and Score Adaptation, and Best Editing. In fact, Cabaret holds the record for the most Oscars for a film that didn't win Best Picture.
Really?
Yes. Do you know what beat Cabaret in 72? And here's the clue. It's something else that just had its anniversary. So therefore you and I were talking about it quite a lot.
Oh, I don't know.
The Godfather. Again.
Okay, well.
No, exactly.
At least it's not an outrage.
No, at least it's not Green Book or Driving Miss Daisy. Yeah. At least it lost to something that you can properly say, well, actually,
you could argue that The Godfather.
If you find yourself in a year up against The Godfather, it's going to be tough. I think Cabaret is an extraordinary piece of work. The last time I saw it projected was 3 or 4 years ago. Child one wanted to go and see it at the Prince Charles because it was on her birthday, and she's a big fan of it. And I had seen it first, I think, at Manchester University Film Society, because they used to do, screenings of classic movies. And we've talked about Deer Hunter being shown. But they showed it, and I remember exactly as I did with Sound of Music, going in thinking, well, I'm not really interested in this very much because it's just going to be a musical stuff. And then actually, oh no, it's substance. It's about something. It is often cited as the musical that you can love if you don't like musicals, because all the music is diegetic. All the music happens in the nightclub. So you have the action playing out, and you have the songs which are commenting in a kind of Greek choric way on the action, but the songs are happening in the nightclub where life is beautiful, the girls are beautiful, even the orchestra is beautiful. And so it's a way of integrating song and dance with drama without you ever having to buy into the convention of people bursting into song during musicals, which I know is something that you have a big problem with.
Yeah, well, I've always thought I don't really like musicals, apart from all the musicals I really love.
Exactly.
And of which this is one, and Evita's another, and so on. Yes, it is rather strange in some musicals, but clearly not in this one.
The songs are astonishingly earwormy. Come to the Cabaret, Money, Money, Mine Hair. Maybe This Time, which of course wasn't written for it, but, is then becomes that kind of great siren song, Two Ladies. And as the film goes on and world events take a turn for the sinister, the kind of, enjoyable decadence of what's happening in the club becomes more and more pointed. When we get to the rendition of, If You Could See Her Through My Eyes, the only musical sequence that happens outside of the Kit Kat, other than her playing the records, is the sequence when they sing "Tomorrow Belongs to Me," which is absolutely terrifying. And of course, that does happen. Again, it is diegetic because it's meant to happen. Suddenly, this kind of young, Aryan youth stands up and starts singing "Tomorrow Belongs to Me," and everyone starts standing up and joining. And it's horrifying, and it's actually brilliant the way in which that. Because that song was written for Cabaret. I mean, it sounds like it's kind of existed for ages, but it's written for Cabaret. And the way in which, everyone gets up and sings this stirring anthem is absolutely terrifying. I think it is one of the great moments of horror cinema. And perhaps the genius of the film is the way that it goes from being a musical that's so widely parodied, because everybody knows that kind of the iconic image of, Liza Minnelli on stage, the Kit Kat and Joel Grey. And it goes from being that, it moves almost imperceptibly into this nightmarish scenario. I'm a fan of Fosse's other film, All That Jazz, which I thought was really, really good, with Roy Scheider, Showtime. And if you like Cabaret, it is really, really worth checking out All That Jazz, which I think is a brilliant film. But Cabaret is one of those things that even 50 years later, it still seems very relevant and very cutting edge. When I was a kid, the posters for it, because it was an X-rated film back when we were young, and it was Cabaret, which is, I didn't even understand what the word was. I didn't know what Cabaret meant. I thought it was called Carbet. Because what often happens, you see, it's like, you don't know what the word, Cabaret. And then it was Liza Minnelli, but it was like the image was on the side and her, on the chair on the Kit Kat Club, and then the X rating. And so it always seemed to be kind of strangely forbidden. And which is why I remember seeing it for the first time at the Film Society in Manchester. And I must have seen it 10, 15 times since then. And when I was at Manchester, somebody did a theatre production of it, which really drove home just how great the film is. Because when I know there've been loads and loads of actually very, very impressive theatrical productions of it since actually quite recently. But it is a brilliant, brilliant screen adaptation of something which really shouldn't work half as well as it does on screen. And it is so chilling and so evocative. And Liza Minnelli is just fantastic in it, absolutely fantastic. But Joel Grey, Joel Grey's performance is second to none.
And you said horror cinema.
I think it is.
As opposed to horrifying cinema.
No, I mean, I think it becomes, because it becomes like a kind of gothic nightmare, because it's this kind of rising spectre of something that is positively demonic. And I think you do get that sense of, as this political movement is fermenting, and everyone's sort of not noticing. It's kind of happening from the outside. It's like some kind of creeping mold, and it's not. And that's why I say it. I think it feels almost more relevant today, because it's that idea of, fascism on the rise, fascism just sort of happening at the end, kind of just being quietly tolerated, and until it overwhelms everything. And no, I think it's remarkable. And have you seen All That Jazz?
If I did, it was a long time ago.
Okay, again, that is Roy Scheider is so good in that film. But anyway, Cabaret, 50th anniversary, back in cinemas, and well worth seeing projected, because as I said, I saw it at the Prince Charles in London about 3 or 4 years ago, and it just looked dynamite.